Hello, and welcome back to the BlaiseXPerience once again. I'm your host, Derreck, as always, and you are joining us for episode 111 today. If you are a patron, then you will actually be hearing this episode early. If you are a non-patron, you'll still hear this episode, but it'll just be like a week later. I'm going to give patrons early access to this episode. And this is our Game of the Year episode. So we didn't do this last year, but this is the first year we're doing this, and I think it's going to be a new tradition that we're starting here. Basically, what we're going to do is I have a panel of guests on with me. We're all going to talk about our top 5 favorite games of the year. Whatever criteria you want to use. You know, some people might, use only AAA games. Some people might use all indie games. Whatever criteria you want, it's your list. You get to make your top 5. And I invited people in the Discord to do the same. So people in the Discord voted, and people on this panel are voting. And basically how it's going to work is if a game was first place on your list, that's worth 10 points. If a game was second place on your list, that's worth 8 points. Third is worth 6. Fourth is worth 4 points. And fifth place on anyone's list is worth 2 points. And then what I do is I take all the lists that were sent in, I add up the points, and at the end of the podcast, we're going to talk about the top 10 games points-wise that were on the list. So basically, out of everyone that sent in lists on Discord, we had a couple people that DM'd me. We had a couple people that sent in lists in the thread, and then our panels list. And we're going to go over our top 10. We might mention, like, say there's one that's 2 points off from making the top 10. We might mention some that are small snubs. But that's kind of how this is going to work. So this is only one category, just Game of the Year. We're going to talk about the top 10 basically. And maybe next year I'll have multiple categories, but that's how we're doing it this year. So without further ado, I'll announce our guest in here. Please welcome back to the podcast for the first time since episode 100, Monty. How are you, Monty?
Hey, I'm back.
You are back. Yeah, you took a 10-week break, but you're back again.
On a rare occasion, yeah, I'm here.
You come in for the big episodes. You come in for the episode 100, the Game of the Year, the 1-year anniversary. You're just here for the big events, basically.
That's it. I'm here for the important ones.
Yes, you're the main event specialist now. But we also have another guest back, also for the first time since episode 100. Please welcome back for his second appearance, BeatsandButtons. How are you, Beats?
I've officially changed my name to Technical Difficulty, so I do apologize, but I'm good. Thanks for having me back.
No problem. Yeah, you did have some tech issues before the show started, but it seems like we've kind of resolved those now. So hopefully, we're all good for the rest of the podcast. Just no one say Borderlands 3 too loud because that's what crashed the podcast last time we talked about it. So. Yeah, that's a little bit of inside baseball for everyone. The episode 100 we did, it seemed like every time somebody said Borderlands 3, it crashed the entire podcast, and it made editing really hard. So, but we do have one other guest back with us. They are a common guest at this point. They were just on the last episode with me about the Outer Worlds. Please welcome back to the podcast, Zombie Killer Mom. How are you, Zombie?
Good.
Alright, I'm definitely leaving that delay in. That was the biggest delay ever.
Silence and then good.
Oh my god, muffled good.
The biggest delay ever. They're just like, good.
That wasn't even meant for, by the
way.
That
has to stay in. I can't edit that out.
Literally, I literally unmuted it just to talk, and then it just delayed itself. Didn't even. Okay then.
Sure. Likely story.
This is the intro we're going with now. Let's roll, guys.
Yes.
Best intro ever.
But anyways, welcome back, everyone. I appreciate you all being here. So we have the same crew from episode 100. I think the episode went really well, and I wanted to invite the same crew back. So here we are. But as I said, we're going to kind of go over our top 5 games. So we will start by going from 5 up. So let's start with the person that answers actually when they're called on time. How about Monty first?
Right. Well, I answered on time, but I failed in most other aspects, and I would like to preface this. I have played very few new games this year.
Oh, Jesus.
So, the bottom few, they're technically a new game, whether they've been re-released on a new platform or they've had significant changes to the game. It's going to be my bottom few, just to fill the gaps.
Fair enough.
But my number 5 spot is going to be Destiny 2, because it had a whole bunch of controversy. I'm sure everyone heard about that. That was a whole big thing. Loot boxes, the Eververse. There was tons of things around that. And earlier on this year, there was a huge rework of how the game works. With the new DLC that's come out, it's also moved from the Blizzard launcher to Steam now, on PC at least. It's a free-to-play game now, as well, just the core game. So that's good for bringing in more people. And the game's just been reworked a lot throughout the year. So it's not quite the same game from when it started, and I really enjoyed it. I was very hesitant going into Destiny 2, trying that out, because I'd heard all of the bad things, but I had a really good time, and I've really enjoyed playing Destiny 2.
Fair enough. I mean, and just for people at home, they're probably wondering why that's allowed to be counted. The reason why I'm allowing it to count is because Destiny did technically come out on Stadia this year. So that is technically a new platform, even though I don't know a lot of Stadia fans out there. But that's why it technically counts for this podcast. And I'm glad you brought that up first, because there are going to be other games in here that technically released last year or before that, but they came out on a new platform this year. So if a game just came out on Xbox this year, or a game just came out on PC this year, or it just came out on Stadia this year, it is eligible for votes. So that's how we're doing our game of the year. So that is eligible, and I don't play Destiny, but Zombie or Beats, do you guys play any Destiny?
Used to.
Used to as well.
Yeah.
I still won't delete it because I love the game, but I got kind of frustrated with some of the grinding, so I kind of stopped playing.
Well, Monty says it's changed a lot, so maybe you'll like it better now.
There's still aspects of it being an MMO. There's still the Eververse, so there's still grindy elements to it, obviously. But the game itself is fun, and there's some fun gameplay, so, it's free. If you haven't played it, I played Destiny 1 as well, and, at the start that was a bit of a joke, but I enjoyed playing through the story of Destiny 2, and I enjoyed doing some of the raids as well, and it's just a good, fun, free game.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, it's a game that seems too grindy for my taste. If I played it, I'd probably get too hooked and never play any of the other games. And then I'd be coming on a podcast like mine and be like, yeah, I haven't played any games this year, guys. I only played Destiny, that's it. So I'm not looking for that experience.
Trust me, we're all shaking our heads in shame.
But
I might also be a little bitter because I pre-ordered mine and spent a lot of money on mine. Got all the little caveats and trinkets. Now it's free to play. So, I might be a little bitter.
Yeah,
I can definitely understand that. I mean, that happens a lot nowadays.
I pre-ordered the first one, which was atrocious at the start. I get the feeling, but Destiny 2 I've enjoyed.
Well, I mean, it's probably better than pre-ordering Anthem, which a lot of people weren't happy about. But
okay, now see, that's on my list, so you're going to have to back that up one time, okay?
Oh, it is on your list?
You knew it was on my list. Why
it's on your list. Anthem is on your list.
He knew it. He knew it, MacGruber.
Yeah, I kind of figured it was, so I've seen him play it. So that's kind of why I threw the shot out there. So
I knew that's why you did it. I ain't mad at you.
But let's go to Beats then. Let's see if it's your number 5. Is it your number 5 or is it somewhere else?
It's actually somewhere else. I would have to put Greedfall at 5. Just because Greedfall was made by a studio that hasn't been known for completely polished games, not just mechanically, but also like story-wise and things like that. So for them to go into a genre they hadn't touched on this level, and it made everything that was flawed about Technomancer not appear in one of their games. So it was a breath of fresh air in the fact that they had moved beyond their stumbling blocks and gave a really good, solid RPG. So I'd have to go with Greedfall as my number 5 of the year.
Fair enough. And I mean, Greedfall is definitely a game that I know we spoke about offline, Beats, that I was really intrigued about. And this is a game that I really would have played if they probably picked a different release window. But they released it like right at the same time as Borderlands 3, and I could only get one game out of the two, so I got Borderlands 3 instead. So that's kind of why I didn't play Greedfall. But it is a game that, like, say they released Greedfall back in like February or something like that, I definitely would have played it.
Right.
So
I think the release
I think
dates
they just
this
picked
year
a bad
affected me
release
playing
window.
certain
Yeah.
games too.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know why they chose the release window they did, but I feel like if they would have chose a different release window, then a lot more people might have played it, possibly.
I feel like they weren't expecting it to be as received as it was, to be honest, because they weren't even anticipating any after-launch support, and now it's even got a DLC. So I honestly think in their minds, they just wanted to put out a game they liked, and it turned out to be a really good game.
Okay, so they're just kind of think it'd be like a little indie title, and like, you know, they kind of be proud of it. That's it, kind of thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you read the initial release, statement on it, it literally said that they weren't planning on any type of post-launch support. And this was before the game came out. So the game comes out and then it starts blowing up, and even after Outer Worlds and other games came out, they still had a strong enough following and selling that they eventually came up with some DLC. So I'm like, obviously the game did better than they anticipated, which is why you were given extras that we weren't anticipating.
That's awesome, though, and you're definitely going to play the DLC?
Oh yeah, I haven't touched it yet, but I'm going to.
Alright, well, I'll have to look out for that. But, of course, that means I have to do my number 5 now. And, I honestly don't know if I could still decide. I'm between two games, so I might have to have you guys break the tie for me on the show here. So, and one of these games, I think people are going to be like, what? How is that even a consideration? But, based on my list, I did my list based on what games did I have the most fun playing, what games did I want to go back to, you know, when I thought about it. I'm like, okay, well, I want to go back to the game again. I want to keep playing it. And that's kind of what my list is based on. So, one of the games that is in contention for my number 5 is Man of Medan, which Zombie and I played. And the other one, which is probably going to be the bigger surprise, is Crackdown 3. So,
Ooh. Crackdown 3.
yeah.
I'm sorry, did you say you cracked down 3 times? Just kidding.
I mean, I know that's going to be a game that, you know, a lot of people didn't like, a lot of people hated it, but I pretty much finished most of what's in the game. I mean, I did like a lot of little side things. I technically never finished the final boss, but I did literally every boss besides the final boss. So, like, I feel like, you know, if I played that much of it and I kept wanting to go back for more, then, like, why not be a part of my list? So, I think if I had to give the edge, it'd probably be to Crackdown 3, but I will put it up to you guys. If you guys think Man of Medan should outweigh it, then I will give it to Man of Medan instead.
I'm going to be biased here. I'm going to say Crackdown 3. That's what I completely forgot I played that game, thinking about it. But I also saw Terry Crews the other day. Fun fact.
Really?
Yeah. Just whilst I was in London. Saw him.
Did he say quack quack by the Decker?
No, I didn't want to disturb him, so I didn't say hi. But
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Crackdown 3.
All right. Beats and Zombie, do you guys contend with that?
I'm gonna go with Crackdown 3 as well, just because I love Terry Crews, so that right there got my vote. I'm just kidding, but no,
enough.
seriously, Crackdown 3 wasn't bad. We talked about it before. I really had fun playing it. I just didn't like that they separated the destructive world with the regular world. That was my only caveat about all that, because that was the build-up behind all of it, and then they're like, "Here you go, we're gonna split it." So it was kind of weird for me. But other than that, it was good.
Yeah, I definitely get what you're saying there. 'Cause I mean, like, when I say Crackdown 3 for me, this is solely based on the campaign. Like,
Okay,
Wrecking
gotcha.
Zone is complete shit. Like, Wrecking Zone doesn't even exist to me.
Okay.
Like, I don't even consider Wrecking Zone as existing. Like, it's never existed. Never happened. So.
I'm sorry, what? Wrecking what? What's this?
Exactly, yeah, I've never heard of it, so I don't know.
It came in like a wrecking zone. That was for Zombie.
I'm sure Zombie loved it. But yeah, the Crackdown 3 campaign, I had a lot of fun with it, and besides the final boss, Elizabeth Neiman, I beat everything in the game, so I had a lot of fun with it. So Crackdown 3 does get the nod, so it's my number 5.
I feel like I would have had an easier time remembering what games I played this year if I looked at the podcasts rather than trying to remember.
It's funny you say that, Monty, because I actually did that myself. I looked at the past podcasts I've done, I'm like, oh yeah, I did play that, right? Yeah, okay.
I completely forgot about Crackdown 3, but that was a fun game.
Well, there's still time to include in your list, Monty. There's still time.
No, I've got the rest of mine set down.
All right. But Zombie, since you want to be, out on an island on your own, why don't you go with your number 4 next?
Okay, so my number 4 is Borderlands 3, which is probably a big shock to most people because I absolutely love playing Borderlands 3, which I can imagine right now is probably a big shock, especially to you, Blaise. I'm guessing so, anyway.
Oh, I'm surprised it's that low for you. I thought it'd be higher for you.
Yeah, the reason I did this was because its story at the end, don't get me wrong, was fun, but when you get to the end, it had a bit of controversy. And, like, because people, it was, like, in the middle, like, people liked it, people didn't like it. Obviously, me and you had separate opinions about the ending. But it's also because they also nerf stuff. This is, like, the most frequent amount of, nerfing of weapons. Like, this Borderlands is the most frequent for it, and it kind of ruins it for me, in a way. So yeah, that kind of annoys me as well when they nerf like a really good weapon, and you're just like, well,
Yeah, I hate
what's the point of
ending.
playing if you're just going to nerf all my best weapons and stuff like that? But overall, it is a lot of fun to play. It's just it had controversy, and they just stopped nerfing stuff essentially because it ruins the game.
Fair enough. Monty, what is your number 4?
Okay, so my number 4 is a game. It's a game that got released on a new platform this year. And I had to put it on my list, because it is one of my favourite games of all time. I wish I could put it higher, but the other games I'm putting higher are actually new games, so I feel like they deserve to be higher just on the basis they are actually new games. But my number 4 is Halo Reach. Oh my goodness, I love this game.
All right.
It's so fun. It's come out on PC this year, and even with YouTube videos, I've just gone back and started watching tons of Halo Reach YouTube videos. It's one of those games that I can go back and play over and over. The story is great. There's great characters, emotional moments. The multiplayer is so fun. The Forge works well. It's one of those games, if you're playing on console, you can sit down and play with friends. Split screen is just not a thing anymore. So going back and playing Halo Reach, split screen stuff, I can't say enough good things about Halo Reach. But yeah, that's my number 4.
It's funny you say that because I can't say anything about it. Actually, I never played Halo Reach, so it's one of the few Halos I never tried at all. So
it's so good. What?
You don't know what you're missing.
It's good then, Beats.
Halo Reach is one of the only Halo games I will actually play and promote. I like Halo, don't get me wrong, but I watched my brother play through all the regular Halos, so I finally get into it, and then I played Reach, and that was like my favorite, and I played some of the other ones, and then 5 came out, and there was no multiplayer, so I kind of stopped liking it again, and then they re-released the whole set up with Reach included, so I'm back on the bandwagon.
Yeah. Reach is a great game. The only reason it's so low is because whilst it's just a re-release, not actually a new game.
Fair enough. I understand that. So, I guess I'll go with my number 4 now, and then we'll go over to Beats. So my number 4 is one that might surprise you, actually, Zombie, because I think you would think that this is going to be higher on my list. So my number 4 is actually Civilization 6. So, this game just came out on Xbox this year. It has been out on PC for a while, but it's finally out on Xbox and PS4, so it's finally come to console. And I have enjoyed this game a lot. I love strategy games like this. I love the games where you can kind of, the 4X kind of games like that, where you can go explore, extrapolate, stuff like that. And I like games that you have to actually think and just develop things and kind of plan out your strategy, like with the text trees or the civic trees. I like how there's different victory types that weren't in like Civ Rev, for example, and I think there's a lot to be done with this game. I think there's so much replayability with all the different civilizations, and it's a game that I think I'll have fun with. Going into 2020 for a long time. The reason why it's number 4 for me is because when I was looking at the games on my list, I'm like, well, what games did I have the most fun with, and what game, did I go back to more often and say, okay, I got to go back to that. And while I love Civ 6 and while I plan to play it a lot more in 2020, in 2019, I haven't gone back to it as often as I thought I would so far, just because I've been busy with other stuff. But if you think about it in those terms, I probably would go back to it more often if it was a game that should be higher on my list, because I didn't go back to it as frequently so far as I would have thought I would.
Well, this is one of those games I didn't touch because of its release date. It got released around the same time as other games that I had already pre-ordered, so I still haven't touched it. So eventually I'll get into it, but I had fun watching you guys play it, I'm not gonna lie.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, we still have to finish our game that, I'm going to win a religious victory on, and beat Zombie for the second time, so. Yeah, I think that's part of why it's number 4 for me, is like, it has a lot of depth to it, and while I love depth, like, it has a lot of depth. I mean, like, it takes a while to get used to all the new stuff in this game. So, like, it's going to take me a while, well into 2020 before I actually master this. Like, you can probably ask me in June, and in June 2020, I'll probably be like, yeah, I think I'm decent at the game now. Like, so I probably still want to master it by June. But.
My whole thing, though, with any of the games, as long as you're having fun, it doesn't matter your skill level. It's the amount of fun you get out of it. So I'm just going to throw that out there.
Very true. I'm glad you said that, and I think that's kind of why Crackdown 3 was on my list, because Crackdown 3, a lot of people think it sucked, but I had fun with that campaign. Like, I liked jumping in there, and I liked going to take out like the stupid little bosses, and like for a lot of people that might be boring, but for me it's like, oh, this is a game I don't have to think at all. I don't have to like. There's no stress involved in Crackdown 3. It's just okay. Go over here, shoot this little tinker. Go over here, shoot this guy. Like yeah, this is kind of fun. So. That's why that made my list. But now we are up to Beats. Beats, what is your number 4?
Okay, so I kind of am stuck in between two with my number 4. It's between two games. They're actually made by the same company, which is probably why I'm stuck between the two. But it's between Tom Clancy's Breakpoint and Tom Clancy's The Division 2. The reason being is I love The Division 1, even with all of its hangups and everything else. I had no problem with it. I wasn't the best at it, but I loved it. So when 2 came out, I hesitated. I didn't pull the trigger, and my brother-in-law bought it for me, and I actually ended up enjoying it even more than 1. The reason why it's stuck between that and Breakpoint, though, is because Breakpoint is a really fun game to play with others. By yourself, you don't have the same experiences like I did with The Division 2, but with others, Breakpoint is by far one of my most favorite multiplayer games. It's a lot similar in Borderlands in the fact that it's a 4-player squad, or up to a 4-player squad. You go through, you can do the storylines together, you can progress together, all that. But there's certain things that are locked as well behind the amount of players you have. The same with the Division 2, so that's the only hangups come in. If you don't have people to play with, or your squad's not available, there's certain things you just can't do, so it kind of takes away from some of the replay value. But beyond that, I literally cannot pick between those two. So if anyone has any input, I'd gladly take it, but I'm not sure how many of you guys have played either one.
You need us to break the tie then?
If you wouldn't mind.
Alright, I actually haven't played either one, but I have seen Division 2 streamed, and I did enjoy that. So I would probably lean towards Division 2, unless, Monty or Zombie. I don't know if you guys have any preference either way.
I played the first Division game, and I had fun with that. I haven't played Division 2 yet, but that looks pretty decent, so I'll probably put my vote that way, just on the basis that I played the Division 1.
And Zombie?
I'd say Division 2.
Alright, so
Because I've actually
Beats.
played it and gotten to the end nearly, so... Yeah, I enjoyed it, but I've not played Breakpoint. I've heard like bad reviews about Breakpoint, actually, so I wouldn't pick it. My opinion, just saying.
Oh, trust me, Breakpoint got destroyed so bad. That's why I didn't even bring up the reviews. That's all. Like, it doesn't matter how good you are. How
I
good
know.
The game
I saw
is,
it.
Yeah. They took everything that was good
all,
about
like,
the first game, threw that out, and threw in everything from like their tier system from their other games. So it was kind of interesting. That's where a lot of the backlash came from. They're just like, why would you change so much of the game when it's nothing like the first one?
Yeah.
And now they're going back to make it like the first one. So, in retrospect, it might end up being just as good as the first one.
Right.
Well, are you happy with our tiebreaker here?
I would take Division 2 as number 4.
Right.
I mean, just the way they have everything set up, there hasn't been as many issues with the game. It's fun solo or with friends. Going to the Dark Zone is terrifying and exhilarating at the same time, because you never know if people are going to shoot you and loot you or help you get your loot out. So it's interesting. Yeah. I'll go Division 2 for my number 4.
And I will do a small spoiler here that does put Division 2 pretty close to the top 5 right now. So our current top 5, it's pretty close, Beats. So that might be happy there.
No, I didn't know that.
But we are moving on to number 3s now. So let's start with Zombie before he cuts out again.
Screw it. I'll just get straight to the point, because I've already said how hard all of them are. Red Dead Redemption 2. Have to say it. Have to say this, because the story for that is absolutely amazing. It's brilliant. I absolutely loved it. It brings you into the moments of, obviously, the Wild West, and it had me from, like, the first moment. Every major moment that happened is that hits you very hard. It isn't one of those days where you throw a death away and it's just like, oh, who cares? It was only that person. Each one's, and it has an impact on the game, and it's just like, okay, wow, I can't believe they killed so and so off. And I'll admit this, and I've only told a few friends of this, right? Red Dead Redemption 2's campaign was pretty much the first ever one that actually made me cry at the end. Now everybody knows. Yeah. First ever game to actually make me cry at the end of it, because the ending's that good. Because they built this, like, amazing story to that point where it's, oh my god, the ending's just heartbreaking.
Yeah, I've heard a little bit on the ending, so I don't know the full spoilers on it, but I have heard the story is really good, though.
I'm not going to spoil it, because obviously people are going to be playing it, so I'm not going to spoil it.
Well, and the reason why it's eligible to be voted on too, just to remind everyone, is that Red Dead Redemption 2 just came out on PC about a month ago, and that is why it's eligible, because it has been on console for a while now. It came out on console last year, but it is eligible because it came out on PC. I haven't played it yet. I probably won't play it unless it comes to Game Pass. If it comes to Game Pass, I'll definitely try it, but if it doesn't come to Game Pass, it's probably not going to be a game I ever try, just because I have to budget, what games I actually buy wisely, and I don't think this is a game that I would love enough to get enough enjoyment out of it. I'm not gonna use the money on that and get enough enjoyment out of it to justify the cost. That's just me personally. Beats or Monty, any comments on Red Dead 2?
Not really. I didn't touch Red Dead 1. I'm not a huge GTA sort of game person. So, the games have never hugely appealed to me. I've heard good things. I know people like them. I just don't really have much interest myself.
So, I'm going to spoil it and say it is in my top 3. That's why I was glad that caveat for it coming out on PC was there. I've spent the second most amount of time on that game this year. So I'm just gonna put it out there.
Already?
I agree with you.
It just came out like a month ago, so damn.
But, well, on PC it came out a month ago. But I actually uninstalled it so I could play all those other games and missed it. So I ended up uninstalling other games to reinstall it just so I could go back to it. But I'll explain more about that later. But it is good.
Fair enough. Well, I mean, since you did start saying it was in your top 3, do you want to go with your number 3 now, Beats, and spoil if that is Red Dead 2 or if it's something else?
It's actually something else. The Outer Worlds is my number 3. The reason being, I love Obsidian. I loved New Vegas. That is one of my top 20 all-time games. Even today, I could go and play it on the 360 with the graphics, the glitches, everything, and just lose myself in that game. They have such a way of telling stories and making it interesting and giving you different paths to follow that it makes the Outer Worlds different for anyone who plays it. I've seen so many different people playing it and have completely different experiences in even the same situations by little choices they made. So the fact that they were able to do all that, give you the quirkiness that they're known for, give you a solid story, give you a lot of replayability, because you can go through and max out certain things and not other things, and that's only too much of the story. Like, there's so much room left in the story that I'm pretty sure we're going to get more to it. There's planets that I won't name that you can't get to, that I'm sure that are there, because later on we're going to be able to get to them. But I could be wrong. But I just really
Zombie
had so much fun.
Did tell me they were going to make DLC for it, so I guess DLC is fine.
I was hoping so, because it kind of frustrated me when I was playing it that I couldn't go to certain planets. I'm not going to lie. Like, what'd you put the planet on my map for if I can't touch it?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't gotten too far into it yet, but I did, 10 hours worth so far, and I guess I'm about, a third of the way into the game. I just got to the planet of Monarch, and I just met, Nyoka. That's kind of the point I'm at, so, I'm not, super far in the game yet, but so far from what I've seen, I am loving the game, so I definitely understand that being on the list.
I'm gonna throw something else in there. Even the fact of what you just said, Nyoka was the second person I picked up. So I grabbed stuff off the planet, dipped, and then came back. I missed the vicar, so I didn't even see him. So that's why I said it's weird that depending on how you play that game, you'll have a completely different experience.
That's true, yeah. And honestly, I think you could probably, finish the entire game without ever knowing Sam is even on your ship, so.
You could, the robot for sure.
Yeah.
That was the same for me, though. I only knew the vicar was an actual recruitable companion when I looked at my quest log and realised that he was actually one, and I'd already done all the quest line on Monarch.
Yeah, see, I left the planet and had to come back. Same thing. I didn't even realize that I was supposed to talk to him.
Same.
Well, I'm sure he was happy to talk to you afterwards, though.
You're probably mad it took me so long to get back to him.
You had to find his books, he needs those books.
Yeah.
And shout out to Felix and his dropkick. I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, I agree with that being in the top 3.
Yeah, I don't know if you listened to our intro episode yet, Beats, because the most recent episode that released was our intro to Outer Worlds, but Felix is my favorite so far. I like him a lot. He has a great personality.
I know, that's why I threw that out there too. I did listen to it.
Yeah.
I paid attention.
I appreciate that. No, I just think he's a really fun character, honestly. So I can't wait to explore him more. Monty, have you played that at all? You haven't spoken up about it at all?
I have, yes. It's going to be coming up in my top 3 at some point. I will. Yeah, I've only had limited gameplay of it. I would speak more about that when I get to it. But the gameplay I have played of it has been amazing. I've really enjoyed it.
Fair enough. Well, I guess I'll go with my number 3, and then we'll go to you, Monty. So, my number 3 is a game that has already been talked about today, and this might surprise you guys a little bit, because you might have thought it would be higher, but it's actually Borderlands 3 for me. So, Borderlands 3 gets 3rd place, worth 6 points for me. And honestly, I had a lot of fun with the game, but the reason why it's number 3 and I can't put it higher is because that story. I mean, that story just really, really still to this day pisses me off.
I knew it.
I can't put it higher than 3. I can't.
I knew you'd do that. I agree with you for doing that.
I hate Tannis.
So...
Yeah. Yeah, I hate Ava and I hate Tannis. So, I just... I can't do it. I can't put it higher than 3. So it does deserve some points, I think. It was a fun game, and I did enjoy Mose
It
and
is.
Black and uh, Zane. All those characters are really cool. I like seeing the characters come back that we know from the previous games. Like seeing Tiny Tina grown up is really interesting, and I like kind of seeing her that way. And it's
Yeah.
really fun to play through some of those side quests too. I mean, like the side quest where we have to kill ourselves to get that gun from Tyrene. I think that's a really cool quest. There's a lot of interesting different side quests too, and I haven't played the new DLC yet, but we're gonna play that new DLC on Thursday. And well, actually, when you're hearing this, it'll be like way played over. But basically, we're recording this on Monday, December 23rd. We're playing it on Thursday of that week, so the 26th. So you're gonna hear this like way after that. But we will have played. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my number 3. So, any comments from anyone?
I'm kind of
No, I'm just gonna say you gotta love the DLC.
You're surprised by what Beats?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just saying I'm surprised it's only number 3 as much as you played it. But I know you're big on stories, so if the story is not satisfying for you, I completely understand how it'd be lower.
Exactly, and that really sums it up right there for me, Beats. I mean, like the story just did not satisfy me, and that might be a small spoiler for my top 2. We'll see. But Monty, you have any comments?
Borderlands 3 is one of those games I need to come around and play. Obviously, I haven't played that many games this year.
Yeah, I mean, I know you hate Borderlands. You don't ever play any of those, right? So.
Oh, yeah. But it's one of those games that I probably will end up playing, even though I've heard a bit mixed things about the story even before this. But yeah, I think part of the reason I haven't played tons of games this year is I feel like there hasn't been tons of games that have come out. 2020 looks like it's going to be a crazy year for games, but
yeah,
it feels like there hasn't been tons this year around.
I think we can probably all agree that 2020 it's going to be a year that like you can't even play enough games because there's so many. Like, you can't touch them all. So
the end of 2019 was
a great year. This is like my year off.
There's already like 4 I want to play.
Just the games coming out like in the first 4 months of next year. Like there's so many games coming out in those first 4 months. It's like, oh, you got Cyberpunk, you got you got RE3.
3.
Yep. You got what else? I'm drawing a blank right now, but there's a lot of games. I don't want to spoil some of the games that I want to play, so I don't want to mention all of them.
A new Half-Life game coming out as well.
Yep, that too.
Oh my god, Jeff! I heard about that.
Oh, there's
I just don't want to spoil all the ones I'm thinking about.
Next year. So hopefully, if I'm here next year for the podcast, hopefully I will have 20 games to rank next year. But I haven't had many this year.
No, we're not doing that. That was the original idea. We can't do that because we'll be here all day.
No, the original idea was to have a top 10 list, but I thought that'd be kind of difficult for some of us. And, considering Monty barely got top 5, what would you do for a top 10, Monty?
Monty.
I think for a top 10, I would start making up games. I would make them up and just be like, oh, guys, they're really indie. They're really indie.
Yeah, we just go along with it. We're like, oh, yeah, that game. Yeah, that game.
Make up a game for number 1.
Well, or you could be,
Simulator 3.
Or you'd have on the Awesome Adventures of Captain Spirit, and Beats would think it made up anyways.
Hey, legit, I did not think that was a real game. Okay, that's not my bad. I'd never heard of it at all. I know a lot of indie games I'd never heard of. I was like, y'all making stuff up.
Oh my god.
That's almost like saying you're gonna make an Untitled Goose Game.
I actually want to play that though.
It's a real game though. It's a real game. I swear.
That has looked good from this year. But speaking of indie games, my next 2 are both Devolver games because the games I have been playing, I've been loving some of the stuff that Devolver's come out with this year. The next game,
Alright, so you're gonna do 3 and 2 at once?
I can if you want to do that.
Go for it. You can do 3 and 2.
My third place, I've put My Friend Pedro. Because that was a really fun game. Short, sweet. The reason it's at third is because it was so short. I really enjoyed the gameplay. The gameplay's really fun. There's some really cool mechanics. The story's great. It feels great, but I want more. I want more of it, and it was just a bit too short for my liking.
Well, I'm going to cut you off for a second there. I'm actually curious more about what that game is. I've seen it on Game Pass, but it has a banana. I'm like, a game of a banana? I'm like, what? Like,
So
I was a little weirded out to try it out. So what is it about even?
It's a third-person perspective, side-scrolling... Well, of course it's going to be third-person, it's side-scrolling, but it's a side-scrolling shoot-up. And you can slow down time and shoot people, and... Yeah, and so you're running through these levels, taking out these enemies, and you've got this imaginary, or this sort of floating banana friend who sort of guides you through the game. And yeah, I'm not going to spoil any of the story in it. There's not tons of it. But the
is your friend's name Pedro?
He is named Pedro. But yeah, it's a really fun game, but it's just quite short.
Fair enough.
Shocking that.
Which I suppose could be a plus if you just want a short, fun game. And then my number 2, again from Devolver, is a bit newer. It's a game called Ape Out, and essentially the graphics are very minimalist, so it's block colors, all of this, but it works really well. And again, it's almost a side-scrolling game, but you're playing as a monkey, as a gorilla, breaking out of various facilities. So, sort of, for the first length of the game, you're breaking out of, like, test labs, and then you're breaking out of boats, then you're running through an abandoned skyscraper, and there's a bit off in the forest as well. And that's another one of their games that's really fun. That's probably the game I've actually put the most time into this year. It's got great replayability. Pardon?
I was saying interesting. I haven't heard of that game before, actually.
Yeah, it's one that went quite under the radar, but I really enjoyed it. And despite being, even if you bought the game, it is on, I'm pretty sure, on Game Pass. Even if you bought it, it's quite cheap. But it's got some really good length to it. And sort of, there's not much story to it, but it's just a fun game to run through. You grab people and make them shoot their friends, and it's all very minimalist, but it's a really fun game. So that's my number 2.
Sounds kind of violent, but fair enough.
It is quite violent, but it's enjoyable.
All games are violent nowadays.
Because it came out on the Switch and Windows, so it was a smaller market when it first came out. But I've heard a lot about it more recently than I did even when it came out.
Okay.
Yeah, it did have like the initial Switch release and everything, but it's a fun game. It's a fun game.
Yeah, I mean, if it's on Game Pass, I'll have to give it a look in the catalog and see what I think. So, but that being said, why don't we go to Beats next for your number 2?
Okay, so my number 2, which probably give away my number 1, but my number 2 will be Anthem. I've spent so much time in that game. It's the gameplay, the flying and the fight, and the fighting, also the combat, whatever. Smacking people with my glowy stick is really fun. So what I'm saying is that I get to fly around like Iron Man and do these missions and play with friends and things like that. But the things that they've added to spice up the game for what it's lacking has been really good. So yes, there are issues with it, but it's also one of the top 10 selling games of the year before it was even added to EA Access. So it's one of those things where it's like, it got a lot of hate, and a lot of that I feel was because it was EA and BioWare, but at the same time, it was a change from what BioWare was used to doing. They're known for their RPGs, Mass Effect, Dragon Age, they're known for that type of stuff, Age of Empires, Knights of the Old Republic, like things like that, that's what they're known for. So for them to go online multiplayer was a big step, and I think they definitely made some mistakes. But it's still a really good overall game for its money. Like, even now, I think you can get it for like $5. You get more than $5 worth of enjoying that. The events, like I I said, that they've added, make it really enjoyable. They give you different things. The grind is there, like you get with a lot of these games, but it's a different type of grind. They tell you what you have to do. They lay it out, and then they tell you, hey, this is how much time you have. And it doesn't work for a lot of people who don't have a lot of time to play, which is what killed me with Destiny. But at the same time, it's kind of like they're giving you stuff to work towards to bring people back. So I get what they're doing. But overall, it's one of those games that I would recommend. I would buy again. I'd bought for friends. It's just, it really is fun because the characters, the story arcs, things like that, it all ties in. The lore, they just do a good job of delivering it, even with its hiccups. So that would be my number 2.
And got a few questions on that then. So like, I know they said they've been like wanting to overhaul the entire game. Do you think it still like needs that? And do you think it's gonna, be something that's more well received after they do that?
Okay, well I'm glad you brought that up, Blaise, because I can talk about this game forever. I'm just kidding. But for real though, if they were to do it, okay, so what they're saying about the overhaul is kind of like what No Man's Sky went through.
Right.
Which is No Man's Sky?
Yeah.
Okay.
No Man's Sky,
So when it first came out, what was promised was not even close to what you got. So it's the same thing with Anthem. If you watch the initial release trailer, what it was supposed to be, if that's what they go back to, I'm all for it. What they have is just like with Destiny. They can fix what they have by changing some things and adding some things and removing some things. But if they really want to do an overhaul, they need to do what No Man's Sky did and go back and put everything in that they said was going to be in the game. Go to that. So if they do that, I'm all for an overhaul. If they're just going to slap some DLC on it, call it Shadowkeep, nah, not so much.
That's fair. I mean, this is a game that I definitely wasn't ever really on my radar. It just doesn't feel like my style of game as much. But I know a lot of people, they pre-ordered this, they're all hyped for it, and then they felt let down by it and stuff like that. I think one of the biggest complaints I heard is that it was too much of a grind and that like they basically time gated you and kind of stopped you in parts of the story to kind of lengthen the game. Has that been fixed already?
Yes and no. So if you were to get the game now, you would have missed out on 2 events. So the events are time gated, but there's a lot of games that do that. Monster Hunter World, Division 2. So it's not a new thing. It's just for it being a BioWare EA game and their customer base, they're not used to it. So I think that's where most of that's coming from, is just because they're not used to experiencing anything like with Dragon Age. If they came out with the DLC, it didn't matter when you bought it. You could go back and play it, enjoy the DLC whenever you wanted to, even in the storyline. They didn't do that with this. So for BioWare fans or EA fans that were expecting something similar, I think that's where a lot of that backlash came from. But like I said, I still love Destiny 2. I'll jump back in it every now and then just to see what's new. But their type of grind was different because it forced you to do PvP stuff. So if you're not big into PvP, it completely takes a whole plethora of stuff away from you. Anthem didn't do that. They just time gated. So if you missed out on the timed events, you missed out on certain things, but they've also done it where they bring stuff back later. So it's a toss-up. If they keep doing what they've been doing with bringing it back later, it's fine. But that's the only thing about the missions, because the Cataclysm, which was the first DLC, changed some things in the world. And then the Season of Skull event actually just piggybacked off of that. So I feel like part of what they're doing is to keep people interested while they're doing whatever they're doing in the background. So I think they're working to make this game playable for all, but at the same time, if they're really going to overhaul it, why would they put so much effort into it?
No, I think you've argued your points pretty well, and honestly, I think one of the things you said earlier makes a lot of sense for me. Like, people were disappointed by this, and the fact that there was disappointment and it's EA game, it basically automatically equals people, oh, let's trash it then. It's EA, let's trash it. So I think that's kind of the automatic response when it's EA. Which is unfortunate, but that's what EA gets nowadays.
Well, since you said that too, that me to throw something else in there. Apex Legends is a good multiplayer game, but because it's attached to EA, I'm pretty sure that's why Respawn didn't tell nobody about it.
Yeah.
That's
Titanfall
honestly
2,
probably
great game.
Like-
I would recommend that to anyone, but because it's attached
Well-
to EA, so many people won't even touch it.
yeah. I mean, apparently the story is that like EA barely even knew about it. Like EA's like, yeah, okay, you're making what? Oh, whatever. Like, so
Yeah,
like,
we'll just slap our name
yeah.
on it.
It wouldn't surprise me if they're like, hey, in our annual meeting, we kind of threw this in there. We're done with it now. You're done with it? What is it? Let's throw it out there and see.
yeah. But you can kind of see the difference. You know, when EA has no hands involved, you get Apex Legends, and that's how that does. When EA puts their hands involved into a game, you see what happens in games. So, like, basically, the moral of the story is, EA, please just go away and let people do the games.
But it's one thing, if they want to be the
Yeah,
publisher,
stick to
the
FIFA.
distributor, fine. Do that. But let the development team develop it. You gotta let
Exactly.
the cook do the cooking, man. Then the chef, the cook cooks it. The waiter, the waitress takes it out. Like, there's a system.
Exactly. I mean, like, let's be honest here. Like, development-wise, what has EA ever done right? Like, I can't think of anything they've ever done right. So just stay out of the developer's window. Just let them do what they got to do, and just put the game out there. That's all you got to do, EA.
I mean,
You
does
already make
anybody
enough
even know
money,
what
just stay out of
NBA
people's
Live
way.
is anymore? EA killed their basketball series, so I just want to throw that out there.
EA
college
kills a lot of
football.
things.
They've
They
still
didn't
got
pay
FIFA.
people. It's EA. I'm sorry. Wrong episode.
They still got FIFA though. FIFA does well.
Well, so did
All
Madden.
the
I
time.
mean, Madden sells every year for some reason. So
Oh,
Well,
fair, yeah.
Man, they just changed the number and stick a new person on the cover, and then everyone buys it. So it's
I
That's
have
true,
no idea how
that's true.
FIFA does in America, but it's like the most popular game anywhere else. 'Cause it makes up most of EA's profits, doesn't it?
Yeah.
oh, I'm sure it does.
Yeah, FIFA does, yeah.
yeah, I would think Madden sells better in the US than FIFA, but
Yeah,
It
kind of like
does.
Beat says, I
It
mean,
does.
Madden, you just, oh, let's toss Tom Brady in the cover. Oh, 100 million
Well,
copies sold. Perfect.
What? It's
Great.
it's
On to the
FIFA
next game.
FIFA Ultimate Team alone makes most of EA's profit.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Because they make you do microtransactions so that they can get money off of you.
Well, the same happens with Madden Ultimate Team, too. People buy those virtual cards, and they just spend so much money on them. So,
Yeah, just
I know.
FIFA's bigger.
but let's move on to Zombies number 2 now. What's your number 2, Zombie?
My number 2. Ooh, okay. My number 2 is Call of Duty Modern Warfare.
Wow, I
Yeah.
was never going to see
Uh,
that coming from you.
I love the story for this. Like, yeah, I was expecting one of them, to be honest. I was expecting a wow. Okay. But yeah, so the reason it's my number 2 is because the story's good, and the fact that when they remade this, they're remaking the story and they're telling it differently. Since it's a pre-sequel to all the rest of the other Modern Warfares that have came. But they're changing the law, which means that we can have more Modern Warfares down the line, which I absolutely love. And plus, just in general, the whole multiplayer looks better. The whole just combat in general looks 10 times better than any COD we've had. And it's so realistic and everything. Like, overall, I love it.
Well, fair enough. I mean, I think my history of, being down on those types of shooters is very well spoken. So I'm never gonna
Yeah.
I'm never gonna back a Call of Duty or like, PUBG Battle Royale. Like those type of games are not my thing. So
Never say never.
nope. PvP shooters.
Never say
no,
never,
no,
yeah.
thank you.
Never say never.
If it's like a co-op shooting kind of game, like maybe like a Borderlands, which I think people sometimes technically count as a shooter. If it's co-op, okay, I'll try it out. But PvP shooters, no, thank you.
Yeah, they have that in it though. With this new COD, they have PvE, PvP, and then the campaign.
So
And the
is that why
PvE
Vigor
even
didn't
has a
make
story
your
that
top
carries
5?
on after the main campaign. It's so good.
That's not why Vigor doesn't make my top 5, but I honestly don't count Vigor as the same style of shooter anyways. Like, it's hard
Oh,
to
Jesus.
really put a name on what I count as, like, the shooters that I hate, but, like, I don't count Vigor in that same category either. I mean, like, Vigor it's pretty unique, honestly, because this game, it's more like you're trying to escape. Like, you don't actually have to shoot anyone if you don't want to, because you can just go to a house, loot some stuff, and then head out. Like, so you don't even have to fight if you don't technically want to. So, I mean, I wouldn't really count that as a shooter per se, because the goal is not to shoot somebody. Like, I guess the best way to put the games that I don't like as much is my goal is to go over, shoot another player, and that's the goal of the game. I don't like the games that's the goal of the game. So I guess that's the best way to put it. But any other comments on Modern Warfare, anyone?
I would just throw out there that actually caught me off guard. I didn't know zombie liked that game that much. So
I had no idea either. Like, he's never spoken to me about that ever. So
no, it from everything I've seen, from everything I've heard. I have a friend who's huge into that whole genre. So he buys them all. He gives me his honest input. If he doesn't like it, he doesn't like it. He doesn't sugarcoat it. And he said the same thing. He said the storyline was really rich, how they changed things up, how they gave them the ability to add on to it. He basically reiterated everything that Zombie just said. So even though I haven't played it, I'm caught off guard that's his number 2, but I can see why.
Fair enough. I mean, I can definitely say I won't be trying it anytime soon, but I'm happy that people are enjoying it, though. I mean, even though I don't like a certain game or a certain game genre, I definitely don't knock anyone for liking it, because people like whatever they want to like, and I'm happy people are liking it. So, people probably hate that I like Crackdown 3, but whatever, I like it, so.
I'm not surprised that you liked it. I was just surprised that you liked it that much.
That's fair, but I mean, considering like how much of the game I actually went through, I don't think a lot of people like almost beat the game, and I basically got 95% of the way. I just didn't do the last boss. That's basically where I got to. So, but my number 2 is something that probably won't surprise you guys at this point. I'm going with The Outer Worlds, number 2. A lot of us have already said that one. And I haven't finished the game yet, but I'm about a third of the way through, and I can already tell that this is a game that I'm going to want to play, over and over and kind of go back to. Obviously made by the same people that made Fallout New Vegas, which I didn't play that version, but I have played Fallout 3 and I have played Fallout 76. Those are the only ones I played, and I couldn't stand either one of them. So basically, that style of game, I thought, like, okay, well, I'm not going to be a fan of the Fallout stuff. But I do love Skyrim. I do love the Elder Scrolls series. And honestly, Outer Worlds brings me more back to what I love about the Elder Scrolls series than what I hate about Fallout. And I'm really enjoying it so far. And I love how you can have these different companions. It kind of brings me back to Skyrim. We can go and recruit companions. You could hire your mercenaries. Like my favorite was Mercurio, but a lot of people probably don't know who that is, but that's all right. He was my favorite. And Outer Worlds, it has some really cool companions. It has some really cool skill trees and different perks you can do. And I like that ability to actually customize what you want your character or player to be. Because games that have, just a couple of different choices, it doesn't really feel as good because you can't really customize and have a certain feel. Like, I'm going for a one-handed melee character that has a lot of dialogue checks, that can persuade a lot of people and stuff. And that's probably a really strange build that a lot of people don't play as. But I figured, hey, it's different. Let's do a one-handed melee guy that can talk you out of stuff. Why not? And I don't use a lot of guns. Right now I'm using my flamethrower a lot, so I don't really count that as a gun as much. So I'm having fun with it. But the storyline is really great so far, too. I mean, I know I haven't been all the way through the story yet, but what I have seen of the story, it doesn't feel like it's just fetch quests, is what I'd say. Like, those games that feel like it's just fetch quests, go here, grab this, come back, like, those kind of suck. Like, this game, the dialogue is well written enough that even if it is a fetch quest, it doesn't feel like it as much because you actually have, a really vast and enhanced world that you're actually in. And the dialogue you're talking through these characters, it makes it feel like it's more than just, okay, grab this item, come back. So that's why I feel about it. So that's number 2 for me. Anybody got comments?
I will comment on it when I talk about it. Because it's in my top 3, and we've talked about 2 of my top 3.
Fair enough. So I guess let's just segue into it, Monty. Why don't you tell us why Outer Worlds is your number one then?
Right. So, Outer Worlds, my number one new game that I've played this year. I was a big fan of some of the Fallout stuff. My biggest gamer shameful confession. Fallout 4 was the first game that I actually sat down and single player game that I actually sat down and completed by myself. I feel bad saying it because I've played so many other good games that I just haven't finished the main storyline of. But I've loved
fair
some
though.
of the,
No shame.
I've loved some. I've loved some of the Fallout stuff, and obviously I've talked about Borderlands before. Borderlands 2, one of my favorite games of all time. So it was those two things meeting in one place. But whenever I've played all of the Fallout games, I've just been like, okay, this is strong. I'm going to use this. But I went into the Outer Worlds, and I found myself actually building my character, like, beyond just the stats-wise. I found I actually wanted to build the character dialogue-wise. Like, what would my character say? So going beyond just the stats. And I haven't really found that in games before. So I was like, oh, this is really fun. I'm really enjoying this. Now, I haven't actually played Outer Worlds that much, because I was playing it at one point. I was running through, smacking people with my melee weapons, whatever, and then my Xbox just turned off, and it hasn't turned back on since, and I don't know what's wrong with it, and I've been too busy to take a look at why it's not turning on recently. But the time I did spend playing Outer Worlds, I had so much fun. It's been a great game.
Yeah, I can't say it's not. And I mean, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think all four of us had it on our list somewhere. Beat, did you have it on your list somewhere? I can't remember.
You're kidding. That's me. That game was on my list. After I just said that was my number 3. You're gonna have to go back and re-listen to what I said.
Well, I said that I thought we had all said it was.
I'm just kidding, but
Yeah.
no, I agree with everything he just said.
I've not said it yet.
Zombie, is it on your list?
Who knows?
You know.
I'm like, if Zombie
Well,
don't know, nobody
let's-
knows.
Well, let's hear it then, Zombie. Is it on your list? What's number one?
Fine, you got me. It's Outer Worlds.
Yeah.
There we go. There we go. I was waiting for someone to cheer for that.
There we go. Fair enough.
Yeah, that's
It's a good game.
It's amazing.
It's a good game.
I finished the whole thing, and I'm literally doing a second run through whenever Blaise plays and I'm in the party with him. That's how fun it is. I'm doing a second run through already. It's just a ton of fun. Like, honestly, like it's just a game for me where I can just do what I want.
I
Yeah,
know
I
I said
mean-
there hasn't been many good new games
Yeah.
this year, but Outer Worlds was one that I was excited for
Same.
from the first trailer. So, yeah, I've really
So
enjoyed
the
that.
reason I enjoyed it as well is because obviously Obsidian did an amazing job with it. Same with New Vegas. They know how to tell a story. And most of the points that I wanted to make about why it's been number one have already been said by everybody else. So I don't really have anything. I'm going to sit here looking speechless for the next 10 minutes. Just like, oh, well, all the stuff I want to say about it is just being repeats of everything else everyone said. That it has an amazing
Well,
story. and
at least, I was right. That was on all of our lists. So.
yeah, exactly. And two number ones.
Beats actually ranked the lowest of it all.
Yeah. 2 number ones, a number 2, and a number 3. Damn.
Yeah.
It's in the top 3 for all of us. Get in there.
And I can say that based on the other votes we received on Discord, Outer Worlds will definitely be in our top 3 overall.
Hey.
It deserves it.
I was expecting more of a cheer than that, but okay. Wow. Thanks, guys.
It's actually a pretty close race, but it is in the top 3.
Ooh.
So
It depends what your
Alright,
number
so
ones are. Ooh.
Yeah, we've heard our number ones. What about you guys?
Well, I guess I'll go next, and we'll finish up with Beats. So, my number one is a game that I know people aren't going to agree with,
Oh, no, here we go.
and that's okay. Zombie for all he knows what it's going to be, but I was thinking, well, what's the number one game for me? A number one game is a game that I can't wait to play again, and no matter what, I just enjoy playing it, and I can't wait to actually, jump back into that game. And there's one game above all the others this year that I could not wait to keep playing, and that, of course, is We the Revolution. So
No, fair enough.
I don't know how you guys expected that, but
I
We the
expected it.
Revolution.
I
Yeah.
expected it. When you didn't mention the other four, I knew it was coming.
To us,
Yeah.
I thought he was going to make a joke saying cameo. I was going to say shut up.
I mean, I had to put it at number one though, even if no one else in the world likes it. I'm sure there's somebody out there somewhere, but I loved it. I mean, the story of this game it floored me. Like the story of this game is perfect, and there's nothing wrong with this story. It has so many mechanics built into the game. Whether you're being a judge of the tribunal and you're going through the court cases, or whether you're doing like the risk style battle board, or whether you're actually like carrying out the battles, or whether you're doing the political intrigues where you're trying to take down your rivals by influence different people in the game. Like you take down your rivals, you have to manage your family reputation. You have to manage your reputation with other factions in the game, and like there's a lot baked into this game that I think people wouldn't see at first glance. And I think this game has such a great story, and I love the way the story ends out. And obviously, I won't spoil it. You can go listen to my 3 episodes that I did on the different parts of the game. I did an episode each act, but there's 3 acts of the game, and I think Act 1 sets things up really well. Gives you a great twist at the end. Act 2 sets it up even more, gives you another big twist at the end, and Act 3 I think finishes the game, brings it home really well, and I think the ending is a justified ending for the game. And I just can't say more about this than I already have. I mean, I've already done 3 episodes on it. I've stringed all 3 acts, and I love this game. So, We the Revolution is my number one for the year. So, any comments on that one?
Sorry.
I was just gonna say I'm still rot over you losing a child. Like I remember when that happened, that stuck with me. So
Yeah,
I'm just saying it was actually really cool to see the way everything played out. Stuff that you didn't even see coming happen. Like the way they did all that. I can
exactly.
definitely see
Like there's
your story
like
guy.
the twists were
That was awesome.
Yeah, I love the way the story went. Like there's so many twists in there you didn't see. Like it's hard to say without spoiling the story, but like you did mention losing a child. Like that was a big part of the story, and like there's a bad character in the game that you never would have expected, and seeing that come out, it's like whoa. So
Yeah. Like I was shocked when that person came out, and I was like, okay, whoa, hold on, what?
yeah, so if you haven't checked this game out, go check it out, people. It's a small indie game, and I think they deserve some credit. It's made by a studio called Polyslasher, and they don't have a lot of games out, but I think this game deserves to be heard and seen. It's about the French Revolution, and it's a lot of fun. So if you haven't checked it out, it's not that expensive either. I think it's like $20, so not too bad. But then there was one. We just have one more person to name their game of the year. So Beats and Buttons, let's hear it.
Okay,
Let's see if this game I'm thinking is.
I'm gonna go with Red Dead Redemption 2, and I'm gonna tell you, it's crazy because I love the original Red Dead. I played it on the 360. I bought the Undead Nightmare DLC, like everything and anything that you could do with that game. The storyline, the immersiveness. I grew up partly in the country and partly in the city, so I know how to shoe a horse and how to steal a car. So I can identify with a lot of the things in that game. So it gave me a way. Okay, so let me just back that up. I knew what was going to happen to Arthur Morgan before this game came out because of the first game. So that kind of ruined some of the storyline for me. So I had fun playing through like his life. But what sends this game over the top for me has got to be the online portion. And I'm going to tell you why. You can get online and literally live out being a cowboy. You can hunt, you can fish, you can start bar fights, you can run a moonshine company. Like, it's like if you don't like GTA because of all the zaniness and the over-top stuff that happens in it and disparaging differences in the leveling, Red Dead Redemption Online is for you. You know, it's like you can turn it into a survival game. You can turn it into a shooting game. It's like literally a play box in the Old West. The way they were able to do it, make all the characters different and interesting. You can follow NPCs around, and they have their own lives. It is just nuts the amount of details.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know if you've seen it, but I've actually heard there's a way in the game you can find the KKK and kill them, too.
Yes,
so.
yes. So in the storyline and the main storyline, yes. I have not seen them online, and it wouldn't be surprising because they probably don't want people to try to join them. So I could see why they would leave it out of that, but yes. And that's why I said Arthur Morgan, his character and everything was cool because I kind of knew what was going to happen to him because of the first game. But seeing it all play out and how, oh my god, the main bad guy, I can't even think his name right now. Sheesh. But to see how he went from borderline good to complete D-bag was just interesting to see how it all played out. So the storyline, the writing, the voice acting, like, I can see why Rockstar does so well with these games because of how much is put into it. I don't know beyond like that if they're a good studio or not, so I want to throw that out there because I know when people hear this and like, Rockstar's crap. I don't know them, okay? So, that being said, they make good games that I enjoy. Red Dead is a game that has allowed me to play with people I haven't seen in a while either. So it's like that multiplayer aspect for me puts it in that number one spot because everything that the other games lack for me, this has. If I want to run around and do nothing, I can run around and do nothing. If I want to go in and grind for missions and gear, I can go in and grind for missions and gear. It's literally the best sandbox I've been in a long time. So that's why this one got my number one. Great storyline, awesome online experience.
Fair enough. And do you know if someone on Xbox can play with someone on PC on that, or is that not available in that game?
Not yet. There's been whispers about that being an option, which is why the PC version was delayed a couple times, but it still hasn't been mentioned by Rockstar, so you never know. With Rockstar, they're so tight-lipped, we won't know until they actually decide to say something. The rest is all speculation.
Yeah, honestly, like, it's about to be 2020. I mean, like, why can't every game have that at this point? Like, let's just do it, everyone, you know? I mean,
well, in all honesty, I followed that for the longest time. So the hang-up was on PlayStation, and PlayStation finally gave the go-ahead this year. So it's kind of like in the development process, they weren't all able to. I read the stories on Fortnite, how they had already had the base programming in there to enable it. They just had to flip a switch. So if it was already programmed into the game, it had the possibility of it. If it wasn't, until PlayStation gave their okay, they weren't doing it. All the studios weren't. So that's the only thing I know about that because it's been asked about the Bioware community for Anthem. And that's what they came back and said. Like, had PlayStation told us sooner, yeah, you could do this, then that would have been a possibility for us. They're like, look, that might even be part of the overhaul. You never know.
Hey, that'd be cool. I think Borderlands 3 really needs that too, where you can, play on cross-platform. Like, I think that really helped Borderlands 3 as well.
Yeah, I know the first game in general to have crossplay between every single platform now is Minecraft. They've been the first people to actually successfully be able to do it. So here's to more games having that next year.
Yeah, and Beats, you'll be pleased to know with your first place for Red Dead Redemption 2 there, you firmly put it in the top 3 somewhere. So.
Oh.
Does that mean we have 2 of our top 3 already decided?
Oh.
Well, I will say that the top 3, all 3 of those games were listed somewhere on this panel's list. So.
Ooh.
It's just a matter of the points.
Okay.
But, we have 37 total games that were put up for any kind of points at all by either people on Discord or people on this panel. And I thought, before we get to reading out the top 10, why don't we just break a few ties for fun? So there's a lot of games that are tied in points. Let's just pick which game is the best out of those point values real quick. So we have a lot of games at the 2-point category, from 29 down to 37. So let's just pick our favorite here and break this tie. We have Crackdown 3, Apex Legends, Tropico 6, After Party, Tetris 99, Rage 2, Destiny 2, Greedfall, and Metro Exodus. So I think I know where Beats is going, but Beats, do you want to give your vote on top out of those 2-pointers?
Hmm.
I'm assuming you're going to Greedfall because that's what you did, but
Yeah, I'd go with Greedfall.
all right. Monty?
I would probably actually say Apex. I haven't actually played it, but from what I've seen, it looks like a really good game.
All right.
It seems to be really popular. So, out of those ones, I would probably say Apex.
And Zombie, how about you?
Oh my god, this is hard. I'm gonna stick with my pick that I said, which is Metro. I'm gonna stick with it.
All right. Well, I guess I will break the tie then because there's no point in voting for a fourth game and having it still be tied. So I will pick one of those three, and I'm honestly going to give it to Greedfall. Even though I haven't played Greedfall, I think Greedfall is a game that I would absolutely love if I had the time for it, and I think that deserves a nod. So, Beats, I'm going to side with you and go with Greedfall here.
We suck at
So
ties.
Greedfall will technically be the number 29 out of that 29 to 37 gap.
Jesus.
The next gap we have is a 4-point gap, numbers 23 to 28. We have Halo Reach, Civilization 6, Laws Link's Awakening, Wander Song, Satisfactory, and Kingdom Come Deliverance. Let's start with Zombie on this one.
Reach. Hell, Reach.
All right.
Has to be.
Monty?
Halo Reach!
All right. Beats?
It may be outside of my reach.
Fair enough. Well, not that my vote matters at this point, but I would give it to Civ 6 out of those. So, but Halo Reach will win that tiebreaker and be our number 23 game technically out of that.
Yeah.
And then we have a 6-point tie category from 18 to 22. We have My Friend Pedro, Mortal Kombat 11, which I know Zombies played, Luigi's Mansion 3, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and before we vote, there's actually another game that's in the 6-point category that I'm surprised Beats didn't have on his list anymore. That's Remnant from the Ashes. Is there any reason you didn't have that list of Beats?
It's one of those games where the learning curve is higher than anticipated. So if you're playing with people that understand the game, it's fun. If you're playing with people who don't understand it, it's frustrating because you can't enjoy it because they're so frustrated. So it's one of those games where not everyone can play with you, even though it's a multiplayer game. I have a lot of friends, but I won't play that game with certain friends because I want to keep them as friends. So there's this,
Gotcha.
yeah. So it's one of those games where I liked it, I enjoyed it, but it was that learning curve because if you've never played a Souls game or Bloodborne, you don't understand that type of combat. So like so many people are so used to the click, click, clack, clack, clack attacking of games that the game that makes you have to anticipate, move, and dodge will hand you your butt in no time and have you frustrated. So it's one of those things where it's like you kind of pick and choose in order for it to be enjoyable.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I watched you stream that and you seemed to enjoy it, so I just figured it'd be like, number 5 on your list or something possibly, but...
No, I played offline a lot by myself because it is a fun game, but it's set up to be a multiplayer game, so you get better experience from the game playing with people. But I would rather keep those friendships and just struggle through the game on my own and have fun. So
I hear you. Well, if you had to make a vote on one of those, is that what you put your vote on, or would it be another one of the other 4?
I'd put my vote there. I mean, if I'm going to break down, at least go with something I played.
Monty?
I'm a bit split between Pedro and Mortal Kombat. I'm not a huge fighting game person though, so I'll probably go with Pedro.
Okay. Zombie, I think I know where you're going.
Yeah, so you're gonna have to break the tie, Blaise. Mortal Kombat, you're gonna have to break it.
Alright, well, I'm sorry, Zombie, it's definitely not gonna be Mortal Kombat,
I
so I'm not
know.
a fighting game guy.
I know.
So it's gonna have to be Remnant or My Friend Pedro. They're both on Game Pass. I technically could play either one, even though I haven't played either one. Well, this is tough because I don't really know a ton about them. I think based on barrier of entry, I think it's a little bit easier to jump in and understand My Friend Pedro, so I'm going to go with that one, I think.
Yeah.
Because I think Remnant would be a little bit harder to just jump in cold turkey and understand.
Yeah, I'd agree.
All right. Next, we have an 8-point category. This is numbers 13 to 17. So we're getting close to that top 10. Our 8-point tie games are Ape Out, Anthem, Days Gone, Borderlands Game of the Year Edition, and Untitled Goose Game. Let's start with Zombie on this one.
Borderlands.
All right. Monty?
Was this Borderlands 1 or 2?
1.
1. The Game of the Year Edition. Because the Game of the Year Edition just came out.
Yeah, I would probably say... Yeah, I'll go Borderlands. Untitled Goose Game just appears a bit too shallow. Otherwise, it would get my vote.
Okay. Beats, I'm assuming you're sticking with Anthem?
Oh, come on, really? I will die on this hill, man. I will die on this hill, okay?
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to agree with the other two guys here and go Borderlands Game of the Year Edition. So
that's fine. I'll see myself out. Just kidding.
Well, it's still in the top 17. Anthem's still in the top 17.
Win for the little guys.
I mean, compared to what some people rank it, Beats, that's probably a good ranking.
That's why I'm not complaining. That's why I'm like, I'll just take that.
Yeah.
We'll
All right.
take your ranking and you'll like it.
Now, this next one is one that it's kind of important actually because this is the 10 to 12 category. So whatever one is voted on here for the tiebreaker actually makes the top 10, and the other two do not. So we have Control, Pokemon Sword and Shield, and We the Revolution. And you guys know where I'm going. It's got to be We the Revolution. So hopefully somebody helps me out here. Beats?
Because I enjoyed seeing how much you enjoyed playing that game, I'm not even going to lie. I will go with that. I like Control from what I got to play a little bit, but I didn't play enough to say I enjoyed it more than watching you enjoy that game. So you got my vote.
Well, thank you. Zombie?
First of all, I was so waiting for him to flip on you there and just say something else, because that would have been hilarious. But second of all, I have to go with We the Revolution, because the other two I have not heard anything about. So
thank you. I appreciate the support as well. Monty?
Well, I'm going to break the pattern here.
Don't do it, Monty. Don't do it.
I'm sorry, but it has to be done.
Do it.
Despite Dexit removing a bunch of them, I'm going to go with Pokemon. Because there's also some pretty funky stuff in there.
You just disappointed the entire audience.
Meowth with a massive beard. Meowth with a massive beard. Need I say more?
There's
all
the
of your fans from the Fortnite mobile podcast have now disavowed you.
No, Fortnite mobile fans, come back. I'm sorry, Lord. I was joking. Not my Fortnite mobile fans.
Hold on, I'm getting another call, Monty. Oh, damn! All the Marcus Kruger fans just disavowed you too.
No, not the Marcus Kruger fans. Oh no.
So yeah, Monty, you're in the doghouse now. I'm sorry.
Oh God, no! Oh no! At least I've still got my Borderlands and Reach fans.
Well, for now, I haven't got any more calls yet. So, but I appreciate the support, guys. I knew We the Revolution wasn't going to get anywhere close to winning, but I'm happy for it to make top 10. 10th place, I'm happy with that. I'm good with that. So. But next we have our 7, 8, and 9, and this is the last tie to be broken, actually. So we can actually break this tie twice, basically, to rank which one are 7, 8, or 9. So we have Division 2, Call of Duty Modern Warfare, and Little Misfortune, all at 16 points. And full disclosure, before we vote, does anyone know anything about Little Misfortune? Because I really don't know anything about it.
Same.
Nope.
I'm surprised it made it into the top 10.
That is because one person gave it third place in the Discord voting, and one person gave it first place.
Okay,
So that's how we got there.
Oh, okay.
Little Misfortune.
A little bit screwed.
All right, so let's look this up real quick so we can know what we're talking
Oh
about.
my god.
We're googling a game mid ranking to know what we're talking about. Guys, we're professional.
Yes.
I swear.
Dude.
I say we just put this night and carry on.
Contact me for any of your podcast
Hey,
engagements.
I mean,
No offense,
two
I
people
don't
from
like
Discord voted it. You know, no one on the panel even voted it, so I'm not really sure much about this.
I went through and read what they voted, and I didn't even see that one, so I missed it, like, legit. I'm trying to go back and find it now.
I mean, the art style seems kind of funky.
Yeah, it was Kitten Claus gave it first, and then somebody else gave it third place.
No. No.
All right, so let's see. It's a horror adventure game, single player. It's a dark fantasy adventure video game developed by Kill Monday Games. I wonder if they developed on Monday.
Was that founded by Garfield, per chance?
It's set in 1993. 8-year-old Misfortune Ramirez Hernandez lives alone with her parents in the outskirts of fictional town of Openfield, Sweden. The narrator announces that today is the day that Misfortune will die, but is surprised when Misfortune says that she can hear him. The voice invites Misfortune to play a game where she'll make choices and that there is no right or wrong, only consequences. When she beats the game, she'll be rewarded with the prize of eternal happiness. Misfortune accepts, and the voice tells her that the first mission is to leave the house. Following the command, Misfortune is guided through streets of Oppenfields, encountering anthropomorphic fox several times. The narrator warns her against and who flees when Misfortune gets too close. So I guess we get to the edges there. You know?
Oh my goodness. I
There's
should
no-
have looked at the art style, and based on the art style alone, I would try it.
What? So there's no good or bad choices, but there are consequences. That makes no sense.
Apparently
yeah,
you can download it
honestly-
on your phone, too.
Wouldn't you need good or bad, bad, in order to actually have consequences?
I'm wondering if it's on Game Pass. Is it on Game Pass?
I'm confused. That game just makes me confused. Though I'm actually intrigued to try it out because of that reason.
I'm honestly intrigued by it as well. I did a quick search. I don't see it listed on Game Pass, but maybe you guys can find otherwise. But honestly, I am going to have to give my vote to that out of the options we have because I'm not really sold on the other two options, and that sounds more my style. So, Little Misfortune gets my vote for 7th. What about you guys? We got Division 2, Call of Duty Modern Warfare, and that one.
COD. I'm Call of Duty.
All right. Monty?
Do I have to vote?
I was just wondering the same thing.
Can I abstain?
Well, why do you think I voted Little Misfortune? Like the other two games, I'm not a fan of those games as much. But
COD wouldn't get my vote, but
Damn.
between this and the Division 2, I can't really choose because it seems interesting, but it's not hugely my thing. Division 2 might be a bit more my thing, but at the same time, I haven't played it. Haven't played either. So, I don't really know enough to vote.
well, here's the thing, Monty. I mean, you got to vote twice because you have to vote which one goes 7th and which goes 8th. Too. So.
Oh, no!
Christ.
I'll go with the Division then.
All right, Beats.
Just because, yeah.
Well, it was on my list, so you know I'm going to say Division.
Yeah. So, all right. So that means the Division 2 gets 7th, and then it's just up for 8th versus 9th. So Zombie obviously goes COD. I go with Little Misfortune. So Beats and Monty break the tie for 8th or 9th.
Beats, you go. You go, Beats.
Well, because Zombie is always being defecated on. I'll go ahead and support him in his little Call of Duty world. Just kidding.
Jesus.
No, but I've To be honest, I would probably play Call of Duty over the other one. I'd probably
Fair enough.
go
yeah.
suck at being shot up in the face all the time before I stumbled across a kid who's trying not to die.
And Monty?
And I've heard good things about this card, so I'm probably going to follow suit and give God the vote. Sorry, Derek. I know that I've gone against you in pretty much every vote here.
We know who's not coming back
But-
next podcast.
I know.
Uh,
So the next major podcast, guys, we're going to need a new third guest. So, send in your applications at BlaiseXPerience@gmail.com. We will be taking, applications right there. So,
on an unrelated note, guys, I'll be starting up the Marcus Kruber podcast.
no, but that's fine. I mean, I honestly haven't played any of those 3 games. Just based on my style of games, I know I'm not a COD fan. I know I'm not really going to be into Division 2 that much. Little Misfortune does look like a game I would be interested in trying. So if it was on Game Pass, which it doesn't look like it is, I would at least give it a shot. So that's why I picked that one. But 7th will be Division 2, 8th will be Call of Duty Modern Warfare, and 9th will be Little Misfortune. 6th place is a game that no one on the podcast talked about, but Discord voters spoke and they said it had to be up there. So coming in at 18 points is Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Has anyone played this?
Oh, okay. I've heard a lot of
haven't
good things
played it,
about that.
but I
That's
want
good.
to.
That's a good one.
That looks good.
That's a good one.
That looks good.
Oh, that's good.
That's one of the few good games to come out this year.
Damn. Yeah, I
That
know.
will be on my list of.
That's getting a ton of good
Then
reviews.
why
I really
wasn't it on
wanna
your
play
guys' list?
Because I haven't played it.
That's why I wasn't on my
Played
list.
it.
Same.
I haven't played
Fair
it.
enough.
I haven't played
all
it.
Video games.
Because Blaise, the
That's why
Discord
I
has
said the timing
spoken,
this year for games
Okay.
sucked.
and it's time to go. It's time to go,
Well,
Blaise. The Discord
Discord
has
put it up
spoken.
there, so thank you, Discord.
They teased us with a game that none of us have played. What a bunch of a-holes. How do we kick them out of this Discord? Jeez.
See now a question.
Can we
So
cancel the
so
audience?
right, I think we need to vote for who we're kicking out. Kicking out right now. The Discord has
in favour of
spoken.
kicking out
I
Derek,
got my
say
top
aye.
5 list.
Kicking
Yeah.
out Derek, say aye.
Aye.
Alright.
The podcast is spoken.
oh.
Bye.
Well, I guess this is now switched to the Marcus Kruger podcast, guys. So I'm out of here. See ya.
Hey guys, and welcome back to another
No,
amazing
I'm voting
episode
you
of
out
the
now.
Marcus Kruger podcast. Coming in at spot number 5 is
Uh,
Marcus Kruger. Who is Marcus Kruger?
Voting Monty out. Say aye. Aye.
Alright.
There we go.
Oh, no.
Monty's out now.
Well,
And then there was
all
two.
right,
So
then
zombie, what
I
we
guess
talking
this has now become the Anthem podcast. So take it away, Beats.
Oh, no. You're not going to destroy this podcast completely. No, you're not going to do that to this podcast. We're not attaching Anthem.
Yeah, come on guys, let's be fair. Anthem destroyed itself. We don't need to do that.
Oh, shots fired.
I'm gonna go
Anyway,
crematorium.
anyway,
So number 5.
number 5.
Yes.
What have we got at number
Number
5?
5 is another game that no one on the podcast spoke about, but it got 2 first place votes in Discord. So that does give it 20 points. So 2 people thought it was the best game of the year. I'm sure you guys have some ideas what this might be. It is Death Stranding. So it's a PS4 only game, so I would never be able to play it based on that reason. So that's why I haven't played it. But anyone played it?
Yeah, thanks, Sarkov.
No.
Yes.
From what it
Sorry,
seems,
Carl.
it seems a
Wasn't one of
bit
those.
overhyped from what I've seen. Everyone's joking that it's just an amped up delivery simulator. You know, maybe that's what PS gamers enjoy. But
Okay, so this
But,
brings
no,
me back to that whole your name has a lot to do with how well your game does thing. So Anthem has EA attached. The game that wasn't as bad as everyone treated it gets crapped on. A game that's not as good as everyone's treated it is highlighted because it's a Hideo Kojima. Like, I love the dude too, don't get me wrong. But at the same time, if it's a bad game, it should be a bad game. It should not be based on who you're associated with. The parameters that you
I agree.
choose your game off of should be based on your fun, your replayability, and your accessibility to the game. If it's not a game that you can easily get into, rate it off of that. But if you just dislike someone that works for the company, you're going to crap all over the game, or you like someone that's running the company, you lift it up. I just feel like there's a lot more bias in people's backing or disliking of a game than the game itself.
Yeah, so Sarkoth, all that was directed at you, so, you know.
No. I mean, he was enjoying it. I watched him play it. He was legit enjoying it. So that's what I'm saying. I understand his vote because he has fun doing it.
I'm just messing with you. I know we're saying the same.
But I mean, as far as like the storyline, the overall aspects, what you do in the game, from what I've seen, it's lacking that type of content. Like, there's a lot of stuff you can run into and here and there, but as far as like filler side missions or lore-based stuff, it just seemed like it was lacking in a lot of those base components of one of his games. Even like, it was just, I don't know. It's not bad. I played it. It didn't make my top 5 just because I honestly didn't get as much fun out of it. I love Norman Reedus. Like, I have a man crush on him and Ryan Reynolds. I have no fault dropping that whenever anyone asks. Like, fine, okay. But that being said, I'm not going to give the game like the best reviews just because of who it's attached to it.
That's fair. Yeah, I mean, you know, Sarkoth obviously gave first place, and then one person that voted via DMs gave first place. I won't out them because they might not, you know, want to. That might be why they sent in DMs. So.
Oh no, they scared of their choice and they knew it, so they hiding their face. I'm just kidding.
So, heated opinions about Death Stranding
that is number
aside.
5.
Okay.
We will move on to number 4. Number 4 is at 24 points, so 4 ahead of Death Stranding. Resident Evil 2.
Oh, okay.
So, does anyone play this or want to talk about it all? I think Zombies played it, right?
I've not played it, no, but I really want to.
Okay, so I have been fortunate enough to play that one as well. Having multiple gamers in the family, not everybody likes the same game, so they buy their own games. So one of my kids bought that one because he heard how much I like the original. Based off of graphics alone, that game is beautiful. Like, compared to what you remember if you played the original, it's like, wow, it's like a whole new world. What it's really like. So I think it's kind of hard when it's a remake for it to be considered for Game of the Year, because what are they really changing? Are they changing it up so much that you're going to experience a completely new game, or are they just polishing it? So it's not a bad game. It's fun, but it's literally like an old car with a new chassis and a fresh body paint. Like, I remembered a lot of the stuff to do because it was the same thing you did in the first go around. So they did change up certain things where these certain things play out, but beyond that, it just didn't feel like enough of a difference to make my top 5, especially with it being a remake.
Yeah, that's fair, and that's why, like, next year I'm really excited for Resident Evil Resistance, because that is something completely different, and it's kind of like a Resident Evil version of a Dead by Daylight crossed with Dharma Project, and I'm really intrigued by what that's going to be.
Me too.
So, but unfortunately, it is a tie-in with RE3, so you basically have to buy RE3 to get that game as well. They're technically separate games, is what they said, but it's actually probably smart business-wise they did it that way, because people that only want RE3 are probably going to buy RE3 and get this game extra and be like, oh, well, I guess I have this extra game, I might as well play it. And people that only wanted Resistance, they're probably going to buy RE3 and be like, well, I have RE3, I might as well play it. So it's actually smart business-wise, I guess. But... So, I mean, that's what's going to be for me. Like, I'm going to definitely buy it, and I'm not interested in RE3, but I will probably play it because I have Resistance anyway, so.
Right. So, we got our top 3 now. We're going into the top 3.
We do.
The big ones. Do you want to get some
So,
drum rolls going?
Only if they're Marcus Gruber drum rolls.
Marcus.
Our top 3 is separated by 10 points only, and all 3 games were mentioned on this podcast by at least one person on the panel, and honestly, I think all of them actually were mentioned by multiple on the panel, so... the third place game is a little bit farther down, but as far as our top 2, I might ask if we want to just vote on those instead, since they're so close. We'll get that in a second. Number 3 is Red Dead Redemption 2 with 34 points. So 10 ahead of Resident Evil 2, and 34 points. It is 10 behind the first place game.
Oh, wow.
So Beats, I'm sure you're happy about that, right?
I am. Like I said, it's a game that I could recommend to anyone and everyone who plays, just because of not just the main story, but also the online. Like, it really is over.
Yeah, I get that being up there. From what it seems, that's been a good game. It's not my thing, but it seems really popular with people, so that doesn't really shock me.
I know people have never ridden a horse in their life, and the first thing they did was go around and capture all the horses and break them so they could ride the horses. So I'm just saying, it's interesting to see people lose themselves in
Right.
games.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Monty. Like, I definitely see the value in this game and, why it's so great and why a lot of people love it, but I just think it's not my style as much. Like, I'll go back to, again, if it was on Game Pass, I'm absolutely in. I will definitely give it a shot. But if I have to pay for this game, it's just not one of the games I'm going to spend money on, because I only have enough money to spend on a couple games a year, and this game is not doing enough for me for that to be one of those couple games.
So if I could get you this game for $15, would that change your mind? We can talk later. I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, I definitely can't right now because Christmas time, but if I get some extra money, then maybe. So right now I'm pretty much broke as Christmas, but you know how that is.
Oh, I do, Justin. I got you.
Which is in 2 days, so Merry Christmas to everyone that's out there that celebrates.
Yes,
but
happy holidays and all the shenanigans.
Exactly. But our top two are games that were mentioned a lot on this podcast already, and one of them is in second place with 40 points. One of them is in first place with 44 points. So I'm going to put it up to you guys before we reveal them. Do you guys want to just vote instead, or do you want to just call it the points are what they are? Before you hear
what they are.
All right. I think you guys might be disappointed in that then.
Oh, no.
You listeners at home, remember that all three of these guys said just leave the points what they are.
It is what it is. It is what it is.
I offered the opportunity to veto.
It's more accurate for what everyone's voted for. It is what it is. Let's hear it.
All right, so number 2 is The Outer Worlds. So.
All right. Yeah, fair enough. I'm sure there's something.
Yep, so number 2 is The Outer Worlds. It is a game that I would rather have at number 1 personally, but it did fall at number 2. I was open to the possibility of us vetoing it into first, but you guys were not. So
the people have spoken as well. We need to be fair to the people.
And number 1, it wasn't high, it wasn't super high on a lot of people's list, but the catch here is it was pretty much on everyone's list, and that is how it got up so high. Number 1 game, the BlaiseXPerience Game of the Year, at 44 points, Borderlands 3.
Which I can understand. They took everything that wasn't in Borderlands 2, added it, and added to it, so yeah, I can see that.
Yeah,
I just am a little bit mad about it because of the story, and you guys know I love a story, and that story is horrible. But yeah, I mean, that is where the points fell, and we all overall as a community ranked that with a lot of points. I mean, I had it number 3. Zombie had it 4, for example, but there's people in the Discord that had it higher and pumped up those points. So.
Shout out to the Discord people.
So let's take a. Yeah, we're gonna call them out right now.
Everyone get in the Discord. If you're listening to this and you're not already in the Discord, come get on in the Discord. Everyone's there. It's a whole party. It's a riot. The mods they struggle to keep calm all the fun that we have in there. So I think the links in the show notes. Come join the Discord.
Exactly, just as Monty said, and we will talk to you about Marcus Huber as much as you want in the Discord. Promise. Or Fortnite Mobile. We will talk about that as well.
Either just at anyone and just ask about.
You need to add a Fortnite Mobile channel to your Discord. Label
Do you
it
think anyone will
Fortnite
say a word
Mobile
in it?
NSFW.
Actually, with the NSFW, that might actually get some traction. People will be like, wait, Fortnite Mobile, not safe for work. What? Wait, Fortnite? What?
Yeah, you shouldn't be playing video games at work. Jeez, guys. Go back to doing your job.
People will be like, what's going on? I don't understand.
And then we just bully them for playing Fortnite Mobile at work.
And I have our culprits here, guys. I looked in the Discord. 2 people gave Borderlands 3 number 1. So
Oh, no.
if you're mad about this, that's Rapid Ranger, our admin. So, Rapid, bad job there. Mad at you, Rapid.
We're going to have a word with him.
We're going to wrap up.
And then the game at number 1 was Tandis. But yeah, so both of those people gave it number 1. So, jump in the Discord and at them with your angry comments. Don't really at them with the angry comments. Don't really, but yeah, don't actually do it.
If you actually target these people with angry comments, I will bully you for playing Fortnite Mobile. And that is a promise.
Well, and considering one of these people is actually been in Discord, you're probably going to get banned pretty fast. So I probably wouldn't do that.
Yeah, but so am I.
But yeah, so you guys think the list worked out pretty well?
It doesn't really shock me.
No, I mean, I know a lot of the love that Borderlands has, and a lot of it is from new players too, who have embraced it, the zaniness, the craziness, the characters, like different builds, like all that stuff. They did a good job. So, and they added what was lacking in 2. Like, I hated 2 when people would steal my gear. I'm not gonna lie. So once they fixed that, I was like, okay. And
That's
then
true.
the release date just messed me up. So that's the only reason I don't even have it yet.
Boy, don't get me started on loot stealing in 2. One time the conference call dropped and one of my friends stole it and immediately threw it off the cliff and destroyed
Seriously?
it. Seriously.
They wouldn't be my friend
I was
no more.
fuming. It went right into the
Wow.
lava. It was immediately destroyed.
Are you still friends with them?
No. For those of you who didn't play Borderlands 2, the conference call was like the best gun in the game. It was the gun to get. And, yeah, the amount of grinding I did for that conference call as well.
So yeah, guys, Borderlands 3 is our top game. And just to round out our top 10 again real quick, we have Outer Worlds at number 2, Red Dead Redemption 2 at number 3, Resident Evil 2 at number 4, number 5 is Death Stranding, number 6 is Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, number 7 is The Division 2, number 8, Call of Duty Modern Warfare, number 9, Little Misfortune, number 10, my game of the year, We the Revolution, and that is our 10. So that's our top 10. Anyone have any final comments on our top 10 here?
All of them should have been Halo Reach.
Yeah.
No,
I
I
don't have
think...
any arguments
Yeah,
against it.
I think
I was
that's...
contemplating it through my head.
Of the new games that have come out, nothing
I
surprises
know, I
me
would have
there.
liked to see Anthem higher, but I'm biased, so...
Yeah.
I'm sure
Exactly,
Blaise would like to
exactly,
see
I'm
the
biased,
Revolution
so.
a little bit higher. There's certain
Yep.
games we just enjoy more, so... No,
Yeah, I mean, for me, We the Revolution is number 1, but...
Well, you need to listen to the people, Derek. They have spoken.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, I guess the one shocking thing here is that Sekiro got actually no points from anyone, which that actually won the real Game of the Year from the Game Awards, so that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, that does it for our Game of the Year episode. So I had a lot of fun doing this. I appreciate all you guys being here. And we will be back to streaming sometime in 2020. I didn't actually mention that at the top of the show because I assumed people knew from the previous podcast and streams, but I am on a content break right now. So when you hear this, I will be back sometime in January 2020. Just stay tuned to my Discord to find out when that is. But Beats and Buttons, where can people find you if they want to find you?
I'm usually at my mama's house. Sometimes I'm with Craig and them. No, I'm just kidding.
You can find them in Ashen.
You can definitely find me On Twitter at BeatsandButtons. You can find me on Twitch at BeatsandButtons. So it's the same name anywhere you go. You can find me that way.
Fair enough, and you guys should definitely check them out.
It's been my pleasure being here, as usual, just to make sure I say that before I forget.
Thank you, I appreciate that. It's a lot of fun to have you back. And Monty, where can people find you?
As always, you can find me at MontyD14 on Twitter. I also follow the podcast on Twitter, so you can find me there. I don't really use Twitter, but if you want to contact me, you can get me on there. I'm in the Discord as well. I'm really bad with responding to things, so at me or PM me from the Discord. I'm nicknamed the one guest to rule them all, just because that's cool. And you can also find me on Xbox at that. Oh, sorry, I'm completely tripping over my words there. Let me try that again. You can find me on Xbox at DeEpicDuck, spaces between each of those words, DEH space epic space duck.
That was the most eloquent exit you've ever had, Monty. I'm going to leave that all in.
There we go. One take. First try. Flawless.
Yeah, but if you guys want to get a hold of me, you can do so via email, BlaiseXPerience@gmail.com. You can find me on Twitter or my Xbox Live gamertag. That's going to be at BlaiseXPerience. It's capital B, Laise, capital XPerience. You can obviously find me in the Discord, which is in the show notes. I am also on YouTube and Facebook, so you can check out those links in the show notes as well. And if you want to get a hold of me, probably the best way to do so would be on Discord or with a Twitter DM. If you want to find the podcast, you're obviously listening to it right now, but you may not have known that it's also on Stitcher, it's on Spotify, it's on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, Blueberry, and many of the directories. If you just type into your Google search bar the Blaise XPerience, you will find us on any app pretty much. And if you don't want to have any apps, in our Discord, there's a specific channel that says direct download links. You can go to that channel, download any podcast I've ever done. All you have to do is just click the link of the podcast you want to download, and you will have a copy of that episode. That way you don't have to have any apps on your phone or device if you don't want that. But that wraps up our year. So, 2019 was a great year. I'm looking forward to 2020. Well, I say a great year. I mean, there's a lot of issues this year, but there was some great things of the year, I guess, and then some, very not so great things. But I am on a content break, obviously, because I'm focusing on mental health and things. So I will be back sometime in 2020. It will definitely be in January. I just don't have a date for you yet. I just have to, play it by ear and find out how I feel. But as of right now, I'm thinking it's going to be second or third week of January. That's probably going to be when I come back. So this will be the last podcast you hear for any non-patrons. For patrons, you can join Patreon at patreon.com/BlaiseXPerience. That's patreon.com/BlaiseXPerience. And if you join that, you will have some bonus episodes that I'll be working on during the break because I have some to catch up with. But for non-patrons, we will see you in 2020. And thank you for listening to The Blaise XPerience.